This is the Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. Episode 79, recorded October 20th, 2016. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. I am Tyson, the editor-in-chief of TV Enthusiast and your host for the evening, and I am joined today by William Roehrig, our keeper of comics.
Hello.
So today we're going to be talking about Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, The Flash, Arrow, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Scream Queens, and Westworld. It's a lot, but we're going to kind of push through it pretty quick. So first off, let's talk a little bit about Legends of Tomorrow because that came back. It aired on the same day we recorded our last podcast. So it's back now. What did you think of the season premiere?
It was average episode. And probably just because it was like a bunch of setup for like the season where the season's going. Like a lot happened in the course of one episode. Like we jumped all over the place time-wise, in just one episode. And basically the thrust of the matter was the Legends went back to 1942 to stop Damien Dark and the Nazis from nuking New York, but they were told not to go back to 1942 by Rex Tyler because they'd die if they did.
They say, what the hell, let's go back.
They said, what the hell, because we can't let New York City just get nuked just because we might die. So they go there, they stop Damien Dark and the Nazis, but not before they launch a nuke at their ship. But it's okay because Rip Hunter planned for this, and he actually had like a function where he could like apparently emergency beam everybody to random points in time. And he leaves Mick Rory on the ship in suspended animation where he's found in the present day by this new guy who is a historian or like a time detective. He calls himself, I guess. Whatever.
Oliver Queen.
And Oliver Queen, the mayor.
Well, I liked Oliver Queen's appearance in the episode, and I thought like it was funny. Like it was a much more lighthearted take on the character than you normally see on Arrow.
Right.
Through kind of seeing it through the eyes of this time detective. I thought all of that stuff was good, but the real cardinal sin that this premiere committed is that it ended last season on such a cool note, and then they never picked up from that again.
No.
And it's not just that they didn't pick up right at the beginning, but then they went to a point where Mick like retold the story about what happened, and they didn't even show it then. Like he could have said, we ran into this guy, and then it could have gone like, 2 weeks earlier or something, and then like gone to that scene and shown us. But they told instead of showing, and that's like a cardinal sin in storytelling. It made it really, it deflated everything that ending did for season 1.
Yeah, that bothered me too. But the ending to this episode was pretty hype because we see Damien Dark, he failed, with the nuke, or the Nazis failed, and they're like, and Damien Dark is like, well, my partner's not going to like this. And then they're like, well, we could build a new one. And he's like, no, that's not going to work for my partner anymore. He kills the Nazi. And we see who Damien Dark's partner is. And holy shit, it's the Reverse Flash. It's Eobard Thawne, who also happens to know a thing or two about time travel. That's pretty hype. Apparently,
Legion of Doom.
The Legion of Doom. Apparently, Eobard is also aware of Rip Hunter as well, being a fellow time traveler. So that's going to be interesting when those two finally encounter each other. But yeah, happy to have him on board on the show because he is such a great character. In the season premiere of The Flash that just happened, Flashpoint, I think this actor they got is really cool. He does a really good Reverse Flash, Eobard Thawne. As we saw in the premiere for Flashpoint, he's just a really cool villain. Like, I love him. And so I'm so glad he's in this. Sorry, I had a cold all week. So I apologize. I apologize in advance for this, if this becomes an issue. But what I want to say is I am looking forward to the rest of the season because we can't forget to mention this before we leave off of this, but the episode didn't only just end with Eobard Thawne Reverse Flash, it ended with the Legends encountering the JSA.
Yeah.
In the 1940s, and that's where we're left. We're left with, now we got the entire JSA, we got Eobard Thawne and Damien Darhk. It looks like we have hopefully an awesome season. Conceptually, we have an awesome season. We have a lot of cool stuff to work with. As we saw, also, like, the last season was potentially supposed to be cool too. It didn't turn out as cool as it should have been. So it depends on what the writers do with it, how they work with the material they have. So we have a potentially awesome season ahead of us.
I like that they're trying to have more fun now. I liked when they showed, them trying to stop the time criminals, that were trying to kill, was it the King of France like all that stuff that was going on. That was like, okay, they're finally doing like real time travel stuff. That's cool. But the episode itself, just the structure, the way it was set up, it was such a misstep. After the way, like, the first season ended, they just screwed it up. Structurally, they screwed it up. So, let's hope they can pull it together. But I mean, I was really excited for this season because, I mean, it looked like, hey, they're actually going to start time traveling now. It looked like it was actually showing some interesting stuff, which we did get some interesting stuff with that. But they're just, I don't know, structurally it's a mess. They're not nailing it yet. So, there's still excitement, like you said, JSA versus Legion of Doom still going on. That's awesome. And next week's episode, which is actually airing tonight, hopefully is really good. We'll have to find out.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's move on from Legends of Tomorrow. Let's talk about Supergirl. So this was the second episode featuring Superman.
Yeah. Killing it.
Metallo as well.
Just killing it. Whoever is writing this is on point with the characterizations. Like, I thought Supergirl was perfect. Superman is perfect in this. Holy cow. I mean, I know he looked stupid in the initial promo images they released, and I thought, wow, he kind of looks dopey. But like, the actual show, like, he looks like Superman. He acts like Superman. This is Superman you want. This is like, when you're watching, like, Man of Steel, you're thinking, where is that Superman? I want that Superman. I want a movie about that Superman. Can we get that? Yeah, it's just crazy how, like, on point this is. So whoever is writing this is behind these characterizations, A+, dude. Like, stop being so awesome. But I love this episode. I love this episode.
There isn't much else to say, though. It was just a really well executed episode. I mean, Supergirl, it's not really hitting hard into its seasonal story yet. There's not a lot to talk about.
We got like, I mean, obviously they're setting up Cadmus to be the big bad for the season because, Cadmus, as we know from last season, they have, Supergirl's adoptive Earth father who was thought dead, held captive at their lab. Now it seems like Cadmus is taking an active role in trying to take out Supergirl and Superman, by creating like these Metallos, with kryptonite. Apparently they had spies there to steal it. We have, this new guy who is apparently a Kryptonian. We don't know how he's gonna play into it. He wakes up at the end of this episode. But yeah, like, so we're getting, like, we're getting some stuff with how the plot is gonna unfold for this season. But the best parts
partially, but it feels like setup plot still. Like, I don't think this organization is gonna really be like the big bad of the season.
I don't know.
It feels like we're like in this like, you know, like we're not even into the meat yet, you know, like it's taking a while to develop. It's just not bad because it's been good episodes. It's just there's not a lot to talk about.
Well, I mean, the meat of this episode, the real joy of this episode is between the character interactions. We had some, and there was also like this really awesome two-way fight, like with Supergirl and her sister, and then Superman and Martian Manhunter teaming up, which was freaking awesome just to see. But yeah, the meat of this episode was the character interactions, the interactions between Supergirl and Superman, which was like very fun. And also Superman and Martian Manhunter, which they have a rocky relationship, but it was cool to see them interact, and that was like the real fun of this episode for me. And yeah, I thought it was solid. I'm enjoying this season of Supergirl so far. So far it's running better than last season. So
yeah,
hopefully they can keep it up, keep up the quality. I think they have something really solid on their hands here.
Yeah, I just feel like the story's not all there yet for the season. I think that's coming. I think that they needed to transition things to go to the CW. So in this episode, you know, Kat took off, she's leaving, doing her own thing, all that kind of stuff. That all has to do with the fact that the show moved to Canada from Los Angeles. And so actors that were full-time on the show before are now going to be taking smaller roles, certain roles, you know, with Kat being one of them. And so that's what they have to do. They have to set that kind of stuff up. They have to start introducing elements that kind of make it fit more into like the CW mold. They wanted to bring in Superman and give him an arc. They want to do all these things they have to set up. That's what we're getting right now. And it's good, but it's just we're not getting into what is going to be the real meat of the story. Even like I said, the overarching elements, these aren't going to be the big overarching elements of the season. These are just like the overarching moments of the moment. You know, they're things that are probably going to end up being resolved pretty quickly in the first half of the season before the real meat of the story really starts coming into focus. And that's like the difference between Supergirl and The Flash, which we're going to talk about next, which jumped very quickly into kind of setting up what's going on with the story. And even though it's still not necessarily the big bad of the season for The Flash really hasn't been introduced yet, but like they're really laying the cards down to let you see kind of how things are developing, where with like, you know, both Legends of Tomorrow, I guess to some extent, although we did see a hint of the Legion of Doom, but more so with Supergirl, we just haven't gotten yet. So it's as good as it is and as fun as it is to watch, there's just not a lot to talk about.
No.
But I was talking about The Flash. Let's move on. Let's talk about The Flash because of all of the Arrowverse shows, The Flash is the one that's really starting to nail down what's going on storyline-wise. You have kind of two big bads this kind of season that have been confirmed, Dr. Alchemy and, what's the other one?
And a speedster named Savitar.
Savitar, that's it. His name, I missed his name for a second.
I don't know how he's going to come into play, but
I think we've already seen him.
No, we seen the rival, which is not Savitar.
When the rival was taken out, we saw the person who took him out. We only saw the arm of him, but it was like this big, crazy metal gauntlet, and it wasn't like what Alchemy was wearing.
That's true. Like
I think that might have been Savitar.
I assume that was Alchemy though, because like only Alchemy.
I think that's what it's set up to be. That you just think that, but then I think that they just kind of drop the first breadcrumb for Savitar there. I think.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
So I think Alchemy's probably working for Savitar, and it's gonna unravel. So Alchemy's gonna be the big bad of the first half of the season, but it's not gonna be like a divided thing because Alchemy's kind of like the mid-boss of the Savitar dungeon, you know, to speak in video game terms. Like Savitar's the boss, and Alchemy's the mid-boss. So they're doing a really good job of setting all of that up right now, though. The idea of consequences that like Flashpoint ended very quickly, but the consequences of it are lingering. Alchemy's entire presence in this seems to be related to Flashpoint, what happened. It's basically like very derped bad at the end of last season. and now he's got to be paying for it hard over the course of this season.
Yeah, very, very messed up. And yeah, that's one of the things, like, the last episode emphasized is, like, when Barry tried to go back and change it again, and Earth 3 Flash, Jay Garrick pulled him out of the Speed Force and kind of sat him down and like, no, you messed up and now you have to live with and deal with the consequences of your mistake. You can't just like hit reset and just like be like, nope, you got to stew in it. And that seems to be the thing. Barry messed up and it's creating problems and he has to face up and deal with these problems. That seems to be the running theme of this season.
And this episode was actually directed by Kevin Smith and featured the return of Harrison Wells, who has a new catchphrase.
Yeah.
Not.
He comes back a little different, doesn't he? Yeah.
A little bit more playful. And maybe, Jesse Quick, who is now a speedster.
Maybe he's lightened up because Zoom is no longer holding his daughter hostage. I think the relief of that kind of stress kind of led to him being able to lighten up a bit. So hence new catchphrases.
Painfully bad, awkward catchphrases.
Yeah, exactly.
Loving Jesse Quick with powers.
Yep.
She's having so much fun.
As we predicted, the stuff, the plot that hit them, both Jesse and Wally at the end gave Jesse superpowers. The problem is Wally did not get superpowers, even though the same thing happened to him. And Joe explained, when the particle accelerator exploded and all that dark matter hit everybody in the city, and not everybody got superpowers, just like a few, just like a few people did, just like enough.
Despite that, Wally West got him.
Yeah.
In Flashpoint.
Despite the fact that Wally West got him in Flashpoint, he did not appear to get them here. This is leading to I think you can connect the dots. This is something obvious.
Yeah, this is going to lead him to alchemy at some point. There's going to be a moral splitting of ways on Team Flash.
I mean, we had the scene where after Jesse Quick relates the story of how she realized she had powers because, she almost got hit, and she said she thinks that activated the powers that she had received, immediately without even giving it a second. He just runs into the middle of traffic.
He's like, oh, okay. Off in the traffic I go.
Yeah, he's like, oh, cool story, off in the traffic. So we know how desperate he is to get these powers.
Which is similar to what we saw from The Rival when he approached Dr. Alchemy and was talking about having dreams and wanting to go away, and then later on saying, after Dr. Alchemy prodded, saying, no, it's not that he wants him to go away, he wants to be that version of himself. So the implication seems to be that Wally is kind of feeling that, he's feeling an aspect of what happened in Flashpoint. He's feeling like he should have powers.
I don't think he's feeling an aspect of what happened in Flashpoint. He didn't even think about it until Jesse Quick showed up. Once Jesse Quick showed up and she was running around and she had powers and Wally realized she got powers from that event that happened to both of them. That's when Wally realized, that's when it clicked and he said, wait a minute, if she has, I should have powers then. Why don't I have powers? What's going on? I agree
with you that that's when it clicked, but I think it had been showing signs throughout the season before that.
Yeah.
Even in the last 2 episodes, even before Jesse Quick showed up, you could tell that something was kind of bothering Wally.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think if you connect the dots, like we said, this is going to lead him eventually to alchemy.
Yeah.
Whether or not he goes with alchemy or not, they're going to be setting that up as a conflict.
They pretty much spell it out in front of him. He's in the room when they're saying they're explaining that Magenta got her powers from alchemy because Magenta was Magenta in Flashpoint and alchemy, and the fact that alchemy is able to restore people to what they had in Flashpoint, that's they pretty much like exposition that right in front of Wally for Wally to hear and fully process. And Wally knows that he was the Flash in Flashpoint. So he has all the information he needs now to go seek out alchemy and make alchemy give him the powers he craves, which is going to set up a conflict between Wally and Barry.
Yeah. Speaking of Magenta, I liked her character. I liked a lot of what Kevin Smith did as a, director on the scenes of the character. There's a lot, to talk shop a little bit, there's a lot of push-pull effect, which is when the camera moves in as it's zooming out or vice versa, and it causes the scene behind them to either compress or expand. There's a lot of that done. It's one of my favorite filmmaking techniques. A lot of that done throughout this episode with Magenta to kind of show the moments in which her personality was switching. And I really liked what they did with her, and I really liked that Barry was able to get through to her. That kind of paints her as less of a monster of the week.
They didn't want to do a typical monster of the week with this character. So her character is a little different from the typical bad guys we get on the show, where she is actually herself an innocent victim of this villain. Magenta is apparently a whole nother personality inhabiting her that is evil, wrathful, and malevolent, but the actual girl is not any of those things. And we saw in the scene where Magenta goes to alchemy, Magenta is concerned that the girl that she is inhabiting is trying to take over. She wants to get rid of this girl for good and just completely take over.
Yeah.
So we learn that this poor girl is actually also a victim of this villain, and so it's not as simple as taking her out or putting her in jail or in their Flash jail or whatever.
Flash Guantanamo Bay.
Flash Guantanamo Bay, yeah, because they're dealing with, there's an entity inside of her that's evil, but the actual person is blameless. And I think
kind of a lesser version of what was happening this last season on Mr. Robot.
Yeah. So it's so Barry comes up with, they come to a good conclusion with it. Barry has this talk with her. He helps her overcome Magenta by herself. He talks her into overcoming Magenta through her own force of will without Barry forcing it. Just she has to do it, and once she does that, then Barry, they sit her down. They set up a new foster home for her where she won't be abused. Barry tells her that she can overcome Magenta, that she has the resources within herself to fight her, and that if she ever has problems, they'll be there to assist. So it comes to a really good, really sober conclusion, I like that. It's a little different from the usual villain of the week story, which I appreciate, which was interesting.
Definitely. It was a good episode. It was their Kevin Smith episode.
Yeah.
He's probably going to be directing another one in the second half of the season that hasn't been confirmed as far as I know. He is going to be directing an episode of Supergirl as well.
Yep. So yeah,
so Kevin Smith is the new director for the Arrowverse.
He's all over the shoes. And finally for the Arrowverse, I think we come to Arrow.
The namesake of the Arrowverse.
I have thoughts about Arrow.
So you watched the first two, right?
I'm caught up.
Okay.
I'm caught up. And so I have thoughts about this. I'm not going to talk about the episode specifically, but I do have thoughts about this season so far, and I want to get this out of the way. I want to say first, up front, so far this has been an improvement over season 4.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that's not saying very much. Season 4 was dog doo-doo.
The damage was also done, so there's a lot of stuff that isn't even necessarily bad, but it's frustrating because of the baggage caused by season 4.
Yeah, there's baggage for season. There's stuff that's not bad. I'm not gonna outright condemn this season. I mean, I commend that they're trying to come back, but it doesn't work for me anymore. I'm bored. I'm bored watching this. I mean, it's hilarious because they went back to angry, angry, mean Oliver Queen who's killing people again. And it's not cool like it was in the first season. It's not interesting. It's just annoying. It's like he's overdoing it now. It's like, okay, now you're just being a dick for the sake of being a dick, Oliver. Really.
A lot of it's baggage though too, I think, because it's like Felicity is not even that bad this season.
No.
There's a few cringy moments, but she's not even that bad. But every time she pops up on screen, I just want to scream. I'm like, Felicity, because I'm so frustrated with what she was last season. Felicity, that just seeing her pisses me off.
Yeah, here's I have zero problems with Felicity so far this season. Zero problems. Because she's not annoying, because she's not being overly dramatic. She is not making these dumb speeches. Actually, half of the things she says to Oliver in this season, she actually has a point. Because Oliver is being such an over-the-top asshole. He needs Felicity to say, hey, you're being an asshole. And I'm agreeing with Felicity. I'm like, holy shit, usually Felicity is overreacting to this stuff.
But you still just want to punch her in the face, right? Just because of last season.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard to get over that baggage.
Also, another good thing, I didn't even think this was gonna happen, but they introduced a new character, to force Felicity into, dealing with the fact that she nuked an entire town. I mean, they rationalize it oh yeah, but it's, instead of hitting its intended target and killed millions, we just killed thousands. Well, you still killed thousands of people. I mean, you can't, and I was so mad in last season where it was kind of it happened and then they forgot about it. And it was okay. It was that happened. I'm like,
yeah, it was one of the weakest points of last season.
That was one of the weakest points. It's I'm like, Felicity didn't even have any internal conflict over it last season because it just happened and then they moved on to whatever was happening next, right away. And Felicity didn't display any internal conflict over it. It's she didn't care. She was like, well, I saved those people. Yeah, but you killed all those people. That was one of my biggest complaints about last season. I thought that was when you knew the writing was just horrible.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that they're actually addressing it now. They're actually forcing her to confront it and to have feelings about it and to realize, hey, this is a thing I did and it was pretty bad. And I'm glad that they introduced this character to kind of hammer it home. This happened. It was bad. It affected people. It affected this kid's life to the point where he got magic rags somehow. But yeah, I mean, yeah, the magic rags don't make sense, but
it's, because Marvel's moving into magic, DC's trying getting more into magic too.
Yeah, trying to get more into magic too. But
so, they said the rags are over 2,000 years old. I read a little bit after watching the episodes with him about Ragman, the character in the comics and stuff, and they said there's comparisons to him in kind of the Gollum stories in Jewish mythology.
Oh yeah.
So he's supposed to be a protector of the Jews, similar to the Gollum, and the rags are all these kind of ancient rags from. So there's that's kind of where it comes from, I guess.
So and then at the end of the latest episode we watched, Felicity actually has to confront him and tell him that she actually killed his parents. So I thought that's really cool. It's like, so it seems like, and then the stuff with Diggle is good. Diggle's scenes were really good this episode. I mean, they're doing a lot of good stuff, but there's just some stuff here that is just still, it's exhausting. It's like Oliver being over the top, like,
yeah,
season 1 Oliver, but like to the nth degree. That is tired. Like the character Wild Dog. He just exists to piss Oliver off more, make him even more of an asshole. I guess, I don't know. He's annoying too.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't really like any of this new Team Arrow. That girl is borderline useless.
She's just like a non-entity.
Yeah, she is. She shows up and like does a few karate kicks, and it's like, oh, okay, how are you a vigilante? You're not. Go away.
Yeah, she just doesn't really do anything. And then you have, Mr. Terrific, who is just, I don't know, doesn't seem properly utilized. Except that he's kind of getting the moral high ground on Felicity a little bit, which is good.
Yeah, it's good. I think his best role is that he kind of balances out Felicity, in a way. Yeah, so I think they should just keep him as Felicity's sidekick. I know Mr. Terrific is a thing in the comics. I know, like, he's smart dude. I don't know anything about the comic book version of Mr. Terrific, but if he's as insufferable as this guy is so far, holy cow, dude. Stay behind the computer, because you're also terrible as a vigilante. Okay? You are. You're terrible. Like, so the only person I remotely like on this team is Ragman. So that's another issue with it. And then you have the villain. The villain is like, I don't know anything about this Prometheus. He seems boring. He's just like, I'm scary guy. I want to kill Oliver Queen. Okay, I guess.
They're not doing a good job of implementing that. They're like,
no.
It's, what they're trying to go for is the idea of like, in all the shit that Oliver's done, he's made an enemy it's basically like the story in what was it, the Tim Burton Batman movie where Joker says, you made me, and then Batman says, you made me, to the Joker,
Right, yeah.
It's kind of like that idea. It's like Oliver made Prometheus.
Except there was like a clear line between the Joker and Batman, and there's no clear line so far between this guy and Oliver Queen. Yeah. I'm sure
that's where they're failing, is they're not really establishing that. That's the problem that they're facing, is that I get what they're trying to do, and it's an interesting idea, but they're just not executing it well.
And that just sounds like, and see, this is the reason Deathstroke was the best villain the series ever had, was because they actually built him up over an entire season, and then again through the second season, through the flashbacks, because they actually introduced him in season 1 on the island through the flashbacks. And
he also had an awesome actor playing him.
And they had a great actor playing him, but they built this character up to the point that when he does show up as Deathstroke to menace Oliver Queen, you already know, you already know who this character is. You have an idea of his backstory.
And not as a villain either. You know him as a person.
Yeah, exactly. And they have never done that again with any other character in the show. They haven't built anybody up like that. I just, when they did that with Deathstroke, I just thought that was brilliant. I was like, that's a really great way. Yeah, that's great storytelling. And then it's like, okay, but we're not going to do that again. Oh, okay. I mean, so now it's like villains just show up, and like this guy, and you have no idea what they're about. And we're 3 episodes into it, and I still don't know anything about Prometheus or what he wants or why. He just shows up in like 2 scenes, says he he kills a guy and he messes like another guy up. But you have no idea what he's about, and it's boring. It's boring because
that's the thing. It's like it's a good idea, and it's just very poorly executed.
Yeah, it's like, why should I care? I don't care.
Yeah.
So right now there's no tension in this season. It's just, so I think that's why it's boring. There's like there's no real like sense of a plot, or there's no real sense of a direction right now.
Yeah. Definitely, that's kind of the issue, and that's all in the execution. Is they're not getting across. And I think part of the problem is that they want to make the Prometheus unveil, like they're really working on making like a Prometheus unveil and doing something like not necessarily exactly the same, but they're kind of handling Prometheus in the same way they handled like a lot of Flash villains.
Well, yeah,
Like who is it? You know, like who is it behind that mask? And I think that's a bad idea. I don't think that's ever worked on Arrow.
It's not compelling with Arrow. It's compelling with the Flash because, like, the way the Flash does it. The Flash, like, Zoom shows up and he's scary. He's mysterious. He has something against Barry, but then, I just think it's in the execution because the way the Flash does it is like, they really draw you into it. Like, immediately you're intrigued by this guy. And the same thing with the Reverse Flash. It's like, you're intrigued. You're pulled in. And it's all about, and with this, I'm not intrigued. I don't really care about this guy or who he is. Like, who is he going to be?
Exactly.
He going to be Tommy? He's going to end up being Tommy. I don't know.
That would suck.
Yeah.
It's,
they would pull
that's the problem is it's like I said, like, what they should have done with this character, they should have done with this character is they should have introduced him as like a sympathetic character that has an issue with Oliver. Like, they should have introduced him not as a vigilante, but as this character that was like wronged by Oliver in the past. Like, his parents were some of the corrupt people that were killed, you know, that were on Oliver's list from season 1, something like that. Something that would drive him to hate Oliver and work towards this. And they could have portrayed him as a very sympathetic character, built that up so that you know this is being developed as a villain, but you don't care because you end up kind of liking the character because you understand where he's coming from in his hate of Oliver. And then you just take that version of him and you warp it until he's become irredeemable.
Right.
That's what you should do with that character instead of trying to make it a whodunit, like a mystery of who this character is, you know, when, like, we have no investment to be interested in that. It's just a wrong approach.
What makes it worse is, like, it looked like they introduced, like, 3 villains, like, right in a row, you know, like, they introduced, the first thing that happens in this season is, like, that crime lord comes in, you know, and they
make him seem like he's gonna be this huge threat, and then he's basically just accomplishes nothing.
Yeah, then he basically accomplishes nothing. Then we get Ragman, you know, like, the way they introduce Ragman, they don't introduce him as, like, a potential ally, they introduce him like he's threatening, you know, like, he's like, you're like, oh shit, who's this guy with oh, okay. And then he ends up joining Oliver, and then we got this guy, and it just seems like overload, because now, like, we knew, like, the first 2 potential threats turn out to be superfluous. Are we supposed to take this guy seriously? I don't know. Is this guy gonna turn out to be superfluous too? I don't, you know, I mean, you're kinda like, that's all off. They really needed to, like, establish this guy, I think, first and foremost.
Yeah, it's exactly as I was saying. It's, instead of trying to make it a mystery whodunit, they should have just introduced him. Like, this guy is, you know, kind of like they did with, even though it wasn't that great of a story, kind of like they did with, the mayoral candidate in season 3.
Yeah.
Where, like, you saw him as this rival to Oliver or whatever, and then they immediately showed you, oh, this guy's in league with all the shit that's going down.
Yeah.
That's basically what they should have done, but just better, you know, like, handled a little bit better. But they should have done it where, like, you get introduced to this character, he's in town to get revenge on Oliver, but maybe he hasn't done anything irredeemable yet. He hasn't killed somebody. He hasn't done anything like that yet. He's planning to, but he hasn't yet. So you build this character up, you find reasons to like him, to sympathize with him, and then you push him towards something irredeemable, and then he becomes a real villain. That's an interesting villain. What they're trying to do instead is make it like a big mystery, who's behind the mask, and that's not interesting.
Yeah.
That's the flaw of what's going on with Arrow right now. On the positive side, I want to bring our Arrow discussion to an end real quick, but I want to say one more positive thing. The flashbacks finally work again.
Yeah, the flashbacks, yeah, I know, yeah. Yay for flashbacks.
After like 2 seasons of shit, the flashbacks make sense again. So that's at least that's good. So Arrow improvement over last season, still a big hot pile of shit. who knows? Maybe it can pull itself out. We'll see.
Hopefully.
But
but
this is not season 2 Arrow anymore.
So far, it's an improvement, but so far it's like, I don't care.
Let's talk about a comic book show that we are enjoying right now, which is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, Ghost Rider, the big attraction this season, continues to be fucking awesome. This episode, more than anything else, they were it seems like they're kind of wrapping up a lot of the kind of loose ends of the Inhuman story right now. And part of that is you have the kind of divide between the Inhumans and the Watchdogs. And somebody's supplying the Watchdogs with information, and Daisy and her, the people she's with, go to warn, what's the guy's name? Didn't we call him like Whiplash or Hot Stuff? That's what we called him.
Yeah, Hot Stuff.
Goes to warn Hot Stuff about,
it turns out he's in league with the Watchdogs because I guess he's determined to still be a bad guy even after last season, which is like, okay.
He's a bad guy, but he's like not in it. He's just basically, he's so traumatized and pissed off about what happened last season that he just wants all of the Inhumans to die, including himself.
Yeah, I guess.
He's just like, fuck the Inhuman thing. Let's just destroy it all. He's just hit like the burn it all to the ground.
But that led to a really cool scene of him fighting Ghost Rider, which is funny because, when he tried to he set that ball on fire and he threw it at Ghost Rider and it just kind of landed on him and did nothing. He was kind of like, what the hell?
Even more than that was that we'd seen Hot Stuff before using like a chain with fire, which was a very Ghost Rider thing in the comics.
Yeah.
It's like how they're promoting the season, and you see Hot Stuff again. They're like in a sky and is hiding in a storage unit. He rips off a chain, uses his firepower on it, whips it back the same way he has before in a very Ghost Rider-esque fashion, only for Ghost Rider to catch the chain, and has that moment where he's holding the chain and then he kind of looks at the chain on fire and just goes like, hey, good idea. Like he'd never thought to use a chain before, and now it's changed his whole life. So the origin of Ghost Rider's chain in this episode. That, I think, more than anything, is what I dug in this episode, was just him getting a chain.
I could have sworn Ghost Rider used a chain in an earlier episode this season.
Did he?
Yeah, I think he did already.
I didn't think so, but I don't know. But they did have a big moment, though, where he caught the chain and was like,
it was cool. Yeah, it was cool the way they did that. Like I said, that was a cool fight. I like that we got that fight to happen. Thank you, based ABC and Marvel. Yeah, this was a good episode. It was definitely, it advanced the plot. S.H.I.E.L.D. learned about the book, the evil book of whatever.
The Book of Sin, which is, the Book of Sin is what connects us to Doctor Strange and what's happening in the MCU. This is like, in season 1, it was Winter Soldier. That's was the connecting tissue. In season 2, it was Age of Ultron, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember what they did with season 3. No, yeah, they did, Civil War with season 3. So every season they connect to one of the Marvel movies. And this time they're connecting to Doctor Strange. That's why Ghost Rider is in it, because he's like a magical figure. And they're getting into magic in the MCU. And the Book of Sin is something from the Doctor Strange universe in the comics. So that's like the connecting tissue. This is like an artifact that should be in the Doctor's Sanctum Sanctorum, but for some reason is not, and it's wreaking havoc. And they're gonna tie that in somehow to Doctor Strange. That's the connection this season.
Yeah, that's the connection, Doctor Strange, yeah. They mentioned, like, Red Skull couldn't find it, Hydra couldn't find it, even Nick Fury went searching for it and couldn't find it. So, well, of course they're gonna find it, because that's the plot line.
Because plot.
Because plot. But we know, like, this ghost lady is looking for it. There's also the subplot with the robot and May. at the end, the robot fools it. Like, Fitz is like super nervous about somebody from S.H.I.E.L.D. finding out about this robot, and he's super nervous about May noticing it because she's so
it's like a big Turing test they're doing.
Yeah, but May doesn't notice it. Even Coulson doesn't realize.
That was hilarious. Coulson interacted.
Yeah, that was hilarious. But it's funny because within minutes, like Simmons, like she just knows. She
pulls Fitz aside and says oh, I see why you're becoming here. She's beautiful. And Fitz is how do I, explain I'm not interested in her? What's going on? And y'all no, she's an android. You know she's an android, right?
Yeah, it's it doesn't fool Simmons at all, But now Simmons has to lie about it under a lie detector test. So that was cool. So good episode of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So let's move on from that. Excited for more of that as always. Let's talk about Scream Queens. So Scream Queens.
Great episode.
They've already started a tradition because season 1 had a certain thing that happened last season and they brought it back. So they already have an annual tradition on the show.
Yes.
Which is the Halloween.
Chanel-Halloween, which was really Chanel-Halloween, which was really a piss take off of something like Taylor Swift did, where Taylor Swift celebrate Christmas and made a video and sent gifts to her fans or something. And when they did it last year, that was a piss take off of Taylor Swift, which they did several Taylor Swift piss takes last season, and that was one of them. But now they brought it back for this season, and they made it even more outrageous. She was just more spiteful because she was having such a bad year. She was more spiteful and mean towards her fans than she was last year.
Sending them body parts and bags of pus and blood and stuff.
Yeah.
From work, and they're still all excited to get it.
Yeah, they're still excited. It's I'm a piece of shit. Thank you. Thank you, Chanel. Without you, I wouldn't have realized that. Oh my God.
The other thing we have going on in this episode is that, deaths are starting to really rack up now. So, last episode, at the very end of last week's episode, we lost a character that's near and dear to our hearts.
Chad Radwell. Oh my God.
R.I.P. Chad.
R.I.P. Chad.
I don't think I can go on.
I don't think I can move on. I think I have to quit the show. The best parts was all the flashbacks, these role plays he did with
Denise,
with Denise Hempfield, Brokeback Mountain role play. Oh my God. And then they did American Beauty role play. And then there was this hilarious scene where Chanel, she channeled Chad's spirit with an Ouija board, and he inhabited Denise, and he fully admitted to her that he was actually in love with Denise and not her. And then he asked her to kill his goat because he wanted to show Jesus his goat.
She's you're in heaven. He's all, of course, I'm awesome.
Yeah, of course, I'm awesome. Duh. And she's and Jesus, great.
About to tell him, he's about to tell her the identity of the killer.
Yeah, it's funny because he's like, oh God, you won't believe who it is. I mean, seriously, when I found out, I was like, whoa. I was like, oh my God. I was it's you would not believe it. I mean, just wait for it. Wait for it. Actually, I want you to guess. I want you to guess first.
And then Zayday runs in and distracts her, and that's it.
Yeah. And it's yeah.
Denise wakes up, spirit's gone, their chance of figuring it out is over.
Their chance of figuring it out is over. Oh my God. That was such a great scene. This was such an awesome episode. It's this was full of great scenes, great dialogue like that. We find out, Taylor Lautner, his character, his big dark secret is that he's dead.
We found that out last week, I think. Yeah.
Oh, was that was probably last episode. Yeah, you're right. That was.
Yeah.
Stuff is mixing together. But
what else happened this time?
What else happened was two big character deaths.
One for sure, the other one kind of not yet confirmed.
Well, yeah,
that seems very likely.
Which
is first the one that's unconfirmed, which is that Chanel number 5.
She got stabbed in the back. Quite literally.
Quite brutally, to like down into her back.
And Denise Hempfield ripped. Well, what happened was Denise Hempfield, she let Hester out of the asylum and into the hospital, in exchange for Hester helping them get the killer. It looks like Hester's not really interested in that. Hester is actually interested in going back to her murderous ways, putting on an Ivanka Trump costume.
Nice little political commentary added in there, but
a nice little. I loved. Oh my god, I love that one doctor's costume. He said, I'm the script of Batman versus Superman, a bloody mess.
I loved when the hospital suddenly got flooded with patients and they were like all dressed like Hamilton.
Oh god, yeah. That was great. Yeah, great episode. This show is on fire. It's a shame that the ratings are so low. It's a shame it might not get a third season. I hope the fact that it might not get a third season means that the writers are going all out with this to just make this. It looks like so far they are. Like they're just gonna go all
killing
out.
Characters off left and right. So.
Yeah, it's like they don't care. So I feel like anything can happen now. This is great. I'm looking forward to the next episode.
Denise, R.I.P. It's had to be that Zayday Williams.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Oh my god. So let's move on to Westworld.
This is the final show we're going to be talking about tonight. So, Westworld, another good episode. Not quite as water cooler worthy as like the last two, perhaps. But still some interesting stuff going on. Most notably, you have what appears to be the storyline that Anthony Hopkins' character was creating kind of coming together, as like this cult that like cuts off people's faces and wears them or something. Crazy cult that, they have this attraction now.
Yeah.
And you get to see a storyline playing out with that. But more interestingly is what you're getting is more of these like weird turns in these robotic characters. You have this one that's kind of like just wandering off into the desert. They're following it like, what the hell is this thing doing? It's like trapped between some rocks. They go down to retrieve it and it just suddenly goes berserk. And, it looks like it picks up a big rock and it's gonna smash this engineer.
That was freaky as hell. That was just the most freaky moment in the episode.
Yeah, it just smashed its own head.
Because we saw like there, obviously the continuing theme is, there's something happening. There's something going wrong with these robots. They can't quite figure out.
But the big thing that happened was the main female robot character. They went through explaining how certain of these robots are programmed to be able to use certain items and other ones can't use them. They can't pick them up. And so they explain this by talking about how there's like an axe in this area and you have all these robots and they're stuck in a loop and they can't move on because the only one that can use an axe to cut firewood has run off.
Yeah, that's the only one who could use an axe.
And the other ones couldn't use an axe, and because they can't use an axe, they can't start fire. So they're basically just going around in a circle talking about who's going to start the fire in like an endless loop. And they explain this, the reason why being that, he's the only one that's programmed to allowed to use an axe. Then later on, they show a scene where this main female robot, can't remember the actress's name or the character, is trying to use a gun and can't. Like, just can't pull the trigger. Like, doesn't understand why. Can't pull it, and then you're kind of like, oh, okay, well, she's not allowed to use, there's no reason for her to use a weapon. That's not her role in the story. And then you get at the very end where she's being attacked, and it's reminiscent of what the Man in Black did to her in the first episode. But you're actually seeing inside the barn this time, and she's there, and she's in this pile of hay, and this guy's gonna assault her.
Well, one thing you learn is like, it was assumed the Man in Black assaulted her in the barn, when really what he was doing the same thing he did to that one character, which he was looking for clues. He was scalping her. I think he was scalping her, attempting to scalp her to get the clue that apparently exists under these things.
Or interrogating her.
Or interrogating
we don't know what it is.
We don't know, but he has a goal. He's looking for something. So we learn that he wasn't actually raping her like we assumed because,
as far as we know. We saw some of what happened.
I think it's safe to assume that that's actually not what he did at this point because, like, he has a motive, he has a goal. That he's trying to work towards. We did not actually see him in action this episode, so we did not get a furtherance of his particular story this episode. But yeah, this episode was all about Dolores and her continued, I should say, evolution, for lack of a better word, because yeah, we do see in the episode it's pointed out that yeah, like these robots have to be authorized to use weapons or to use certain weapons. Like there was only one robot that could use that axe to chop the wood. And when we see Dolores trying to train with the gun with Teddy, she can't pull the trigger. And the implication is because she's not authorized, she's not programmed. But then later in the episode, she does get a gun. She does pull the trigger. She kills that one robot that's assaulting her.
She struggles with it. It's not like instant. Like she's trying to, and the robot's kind of laughing at her.
Yeah.
Because she can't do it, and then she does it.
So she overcomes her programming, or the limitations that are set in her programming. She actually overcomes that. That is significant. And so so this episode was all about her continued evolution, where she is actually evolving counter to her programming.
We also get some more scenes with White Hat, who, I'm just gonna call him White Hat because he chose the White Hat, and his, creepy brother-in-law, or whatever, soon-to-be brother-in-law, I guess. And, they're off on a quest, and Dolores kind of approaches them and collapses. Now this happens after she was, like, shot. So, the implication they're making is that she was shot and then she stumbled over to them, but she didn't appear to be bleeding, like where when she got shot, we saw blood come out. But then when she collapsed on him, I didn't see any blood.
I think it's time to give up the idea that they're in the past and that their storyline is...
I disagree. I think this was a purposely set up as a red herring. Because I think what was happening, I think what White Hat saw with her collapsing on him was a scripted event. That wasn't the fallout of what we had just seen. That was a scripted event from before where her family was killed by bandits or something and she stumbles into the thing. That's why they were out there. They were out there following this one storyline, and she was the next part of that storyline. She stumbles into their storyline. I think that it's a red herring the way they set up the present time of what happened with her, and then cutting to what happened in the past with her, following through on a storyline that was similar, in that she like would collapse or something to like set that up, to make it look like, to kind of keep you from making that connection.
Maybe. I don't think this show trades in that kind of mindfuck. I
think it does.
But we'll see.
Respectfully disagree.
This is not Mr. Robot.
I don't know. I'm getting some audience contempt and what's it called? God, I can't even think of the term now. Unreliable narration. I'm getting a bit of that now from Westworld. I think this is the same kind of thing. I very much think even more so now after that, because I looked at that scene very carefully, because I'm like, does this just disprove that theory? And then I was watching the scene carefully, and I'm like, she got shot and she was bleeding. When she stumbled onto them in the camp and fell over, she wasn't shot. There was no bullet hole in her dress. There was nothing. So I think that was purposely a misdirect, that it was supposed to be like in the storyline in the theme park. We'd seen before that these bandits come and kill her family, and she was supposed to kind of stumble, traumatized by that event, and collapse next to whoever had taken that quest, which was these two. And so I think that they cut those together as a red herring to basically make you think not to make you think, oh, this theory isn't true, but to keep that, I think they're doing a lot to set up that theory, while at the same time trying to keep it not as obvious. They're trying to keep some doubt so that, like, if your mind starts to wander in that direction, they're doing things to kind of push you in the other way again, so that when they do unveil it, it's like a big surprise. That's kind of what I'm seeing coming together. And after the way that was put together, I'm more convinced than ever that theory's true.
Right, yeah. Right, we'll see. We shall see as the episodes go on.
Yep, so that is Westworld, and that's the last show we're talking about this week. So next week, I believe we are not going to talk about Arrow. I'm going to watch Arrow, so I might, if there's anything really relevant to what's going to happen later on with the crossovers and stuff, I'll bring it up. But for the most part, we're kind of dropping Arrow out of our discussion again. And we're going to be bringing in Black Mirror. So Black Mirror, by the time this podcast is available, the season 3, 6 episode season 3 will be available up on Netflix. And so we're going to be going through those once a week now, 1 episode of those a week, in place of talking about Arrow, which is just frustrating us.
Definitely.
So, yeah, look forward to that as we talk about some Black Mirror. Until then, thank you everybody for listening to the podcast. I'm Tyson Gifford. You can reach me on Twitter at Tyson Gifford. You can reach Will on Twitter at Voxel Hero. Check out our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, as well as our site, TVEnthusiast.com. You can subscribe to our podcast through any major podcast client like iTunes or Pocket Cast. The entire backlog of our podcast is available on our YouTube channel as well. And we have some video features on there as well you can check out. You can check out our old videos where we discuss Game of Thrones. We have other kind of cool things in there. We did all the season 3 of Hannibal. We did Dinner with Hannibal, where we talked about every episode there. So if you haven't watched Hannibal yet, start watching. When you get to season 3, watch an episode, jump into our discussion of that episode. You can it's kind of like you're watching along with us. So until next time, bye.
Bye.
If you would like to voice your opinion, send an email to theweeklyset@TVEnthusiast.com. TV Enthusiast is a part of the Enthusiast Media Network. Stay tuned to TV Enthusiast and the Weekly Set podcast for more